Hey, it's Shapes, and welcome to another edition of AniTube Digest, where we go over the best and not so best anime YouTube videos to come out this week from the 31st of August to the 7th of September, which is the same kind of period as the last digest, but it's a day late, so I think it will, I don't know, whatever. Well, alright, first for the video that I did think was not good. It was a struggle to get through. The rest, yeah, whatever. I don't know why there's so much pretense already. Come on, just get to the videos. It's from GeekArcheology, A Brief History of Anime, the 1960s. I don't know what happened here. So it's like, I don't want to be too hard on him because he's been around a long time, and I appreciate that he's doing these sorts of videos. And there's things you can kind of take away. It's like, yeah, he doesn't have too many visuals going on. It seems to be all one unbroken take. Which, you know, again, I can't really knock unscripted content all that much, considering I do most. This is all unscripted. But yeah, I feel like he did a real disservice to this period that compared to the information that is out there about this stuff. Most especially Animatude's TMS articles, his series of articles about Tokyo Movie Shinsha, which actually just is brought into like the anime like what anime was like in the 1960s, like this exact video basically, but GeekArcheology completely ignores Toei Animation and the fact that they were the ones starting, like they were the first major animation studio, major as in like really making these high quality animated films like Disney, and Tezuka being inspired by them to make anime himself. He didn't just suddenly come up with making anime like this. More than half the video is about Astro Boy, and like, yeah, Astro Boy is important, but there's so much more to it in the grand context of things. He didn't talk about Tatsunoko at all. Didn't talk about Shin-A or A Pro, anything like that. And he was like, and you know, I also just felt kind of weird that it boiled down to like these major series that like started the genres technically. Like Tetsujin 28 being the first mecha series, you know, animated. And it's like, yeah, it is, and it's worth noting that, but it's not as symbolic as like the mecha boom, and it didn't start the genre at the time. It really was kind of the first that had a giant robot in it. But it wasn't the one that kicked off it as a genre to be recycled and recreated over and over until Mazinger Z in the 70s. I think that was a more appropriate credit, but that's obviously in the 70s. He's not going to talk about that. And like crediting Kyoji no Hoshi as the first sports anime, but that's it. It's like, no, there's way more to it. And he cites Astro Boy as like the reason that anime has a lot of slow motion fights. Like there's things that like basically speculative, I don't remember his term for it, but it was like speculative time or something. And like the time is a complete, you know, it's at the mercy of the film or whatever. But like that Kyoji no Hoshi is one of the things it's memorable for is being a manga adaptation that caught up to its source material and had to fill it with added stuff. Like it literally invented anime filler. So like there's an episode, and this is what I've read, that I did not just know this off the top of my head. I'll try to remember to link it in the comments, but Animatude's TMS series is fantastic. It's just a series of 5 blogs, 6 blogs actually. I didn't actually fully read the 6th one because it's about Lupin, and I don't know. I like Lupin. I just didn't get around to reading it. I love his stuff though. I'll try to link that in the description. That is a much better source of and getting an idea of who these people are. It's not just Tezuka. Like Tezuka's the only person he mentions here. Like there are other really important people, like the first animation director Yasuji Mori. You know, you could have mentioned how Mushi Pro has all these future talents like Osamu Tezaki and Yoshiyuki Tomino and Rintaro, or Sugi Gisaburo Sugi. You know, that's also kind of an important guy for some reasons, for not whatever reason, reasons I can't think of right now. I'm just saying there's so much more to it, and I just felt it was so like this could have come out like in 2012. Like this video definitely could have been like, yeah, then Kitaro came out, and it's like Geki no Kitaro is certainly a long running franchise for sure, but like there's other things to mention here, to me at least. And like, I just felt way more educated in the 60s of this period that this video is trying to profess, with the visuals that the blogs, even what little visuals there were on blogs, it's just written. This is a video. You could have shown way more stuff in the fucking promo that anyone can look up on Mal. You know what I mean? That's just kind of what it felt like. And it's just, and I get he's just kind of making weekly or like very, making so much content. He can't spend a whole lot of time on this, I guess. But like, I feel like you're doing your fans a disservice when putting something out like this. It's like, it's not that simple. And also, probably all of them already knew this information that you said. It's like, yeah, there's Astro Boy, and then Sally the Witch is the first magical girl show. Anyone who's probably subscribed to your channel probably already knows that. So it's like, get a little deeper in there. I mean, and so it's like, and then he's just writing everything for Astro Boy. Like, yeah, Astro Boy did a lot of good, but there's just so many holes to it that I knew about from, and it's not like the gospel or whatever, but like, at least that one also had, at least AniMatube's blogs had sources to them. You know, like he doesn't even cite anything here. That's the other thing about it. It was just really disappointing. It's like, ugh, I'm not gonna give it disappointing. I kind of want to retire that moniker. It's weak. I'm gonna give it a not good. And that's not out of maliciousness or anything like that. It's just like, yeah, it's the one that I had to pause multiple times. Is like, oh, come on, dude. You know what I mean? And so that's what happens with some of these. But again, I am happy he's talking about it. But that was a bit of an L. Let's take a request video from Conra. Wanted me to talk about a evergreen classic from Digibro. Just shit talking other anime YouTubers for like half an hour. Oh God, what have I done? And I'm gonna apologize in advance for misgendering Digi here if I do. I'm just very more used to referring to her as he in the context of this video because Digi was still a guy at that time. But I do respect the transition if that's any consolation. But I will try. Maybe I'll. I don't know. I'm just saying in advance. I'm very used to him being a guy here in the context of this video, I guess. But this is. I remember this video dropping, and I was so excited and happy because I've watched a ton of anime YouTubers and had my problem with them at the time, and I was making my own videos. I was very small. I had under 1,000 subscribers. Digi did not know who I was when making this video, and I was watching it to see if he name dropped me, but he didn't, obviously. But that's okay. I wasn't indicted in such a scathing critique. Quite the rant, one take. He's drunk here, drinking throughout the whole video too, and kind of repeats himself a couple of times. But this was definitely a precursor to Digest. Like, this is definitely one of the kind of the ancestors, influences for me, because it really demanded myself to look at anime YouTube more critically. And not to be a critic or anything like that, but I mean, like, to really see it as its own art form and not just a thing that people do whatever, and to really care about it and do better. Digi is far harsher about sound quality in this than anything else, and he very much sees in this video, the context of this video at least, he really seems to have visuals being very overrated. So we very much differ in goals, I guess, because obviously I've had a lot of varying quality and sound on these digests, but a lot of it's stuff I couldn't really help for whatever reason. So, and and him talking about this whole thing, I'm very self-conscious. It made me very self-conscious about my own my videos, particularly the Girl Nogon one, when it comes to like the music mix and shitty mic or whatever like that, and sound editing and things like that. All things in retrospect, it's actually a very defensive video for him, where it's a lot of reactionary. They said this about me. This guy took from me. And he says at the end, I'm the best anime YouTuber, all other ones are shit kind of deal, which is, mostly just posturing, but like, it's coming from that place still. And it's definitely from Digi's own experience, which totally makes sense. I mean, yeah. But a lot of it came off as more defensive, which is very interesting. He's not just kind of going after them for the sake of going after them. And I also really appreciated this, especially, even when it came out, that he was saying this from a place of a higher position, as someone with 300,000 subscribers at the time, with more of an influence, I suppose. A lot of people, watching his content. He has more of a broader platform, and this sparked like an arc, like serious discussions, and like a 4-hour discussion with Jeff, Gigic, Nino, Pedantogrammatic, and all that on Weebcast, and even so far as Crunchyroll, the first Crunchyroll Expo, having a live debate with Gigic and Digibro, moderated by Canva Effect, which is so, and it was real, and it was a live event, sponsored by an organization. It was insane, and this video, I think, really spawned that, and it just goes to show that the influence this had. It was massive ripple effects, and I love it for that. That these things can have those kind of that kind of power. I love it. So I did take some notes. Otherwise, even though I've seen this video countless times over the years, because I remember where I was, like I felt like having popcorn or something. Like I was giddy seeing this, and then watching it and squealing at every brutal takedown and every hot take that comes from this. It's relentless, and it's awesome. But like the first thing that Digi really goes into is anime YouTubers don't watch each other. And that's, again, a real reason why I started Digest, because that's still true. A lot of them don't, and it's for whatever reason. I can't explain it myself, because, and I've said it before, but Digest is really like my reason to watch some of these videos. Otherwise, I don't know if I would watch them in my spare time. I don't know why. I love anime. Allergies, why now? And I liked that a lot, that he really brought that to the forefront, and it was one of the first points that he made. But it's so funny how much of this still holds true with a lot of videos and stuff of it's a 10-minute video with a 2-minute point, or like the one quote where he's like, Gigix Konosuba video, it's 10 minutes, that's plenty of time to make a good point. And it's true. A lot of YouTubers bloat the runtime or whatever, and that's less of the case now, especially with smaller YouTubers, which I appreciate. And there's less introduction paragraphs of like how you came to the idea, which I appreciate. And it's like, I get the idea of YouTubers of videos needing a preamble and a setup, I guess, but you do have to be careful about it. And I even like that he lampoons a little bit. He's like, look, even my Konosuba video is a little waffly at points. So like I appreciated that too. He laments that nobody is trying to become a better writer, and he's saying that kind of effects are overtaking the writing. And while I agree with, I understand that point. I think it's so many people. There's only so much they can do. There's some talents in some areas and in others, and you have to find what you're really good at and lean into those strengths. And some people might not be the best writers, so they want to make it more of an experiential thing. Maybe make it more funny. Maybe they're better at telling jokes. Maybe they're better at wowing an audience with whatever editing stuff that they have. And you have to set a mood. But he really he definitely shows his priorities, which I appreciate. And it's like nobody's trying to become a better writer. I guess it's kind of hard to really feel that, because writing is one aspect of it, but it's also the performance. It's actually like your choice of words in selling this and then putting it in a video, and having you be interesting to listen to in that regard. The writing has to be as compelling as it is tight, I suppose. It's different, and there's no I don't feel like school prepares you in the same way, or I don't know what does besides just practice. And Digi certainly has practice with having done blog work before making videos, while the rest of us just kind of started making videos because that was what's cool. But I think writing for videos is a lot different than just writing per se, is what I would say about that. And yeah, I can't talk to these people because none of them are watching my shit. It's like, yeah, would it be? She said, but like, I hope that changed a little bit with the prevalence of this video as well as Digest. I hope that people are actually watching this stuff and discussing it, having seen the work. Like, there's nothing more foolish than discussing about a video that you haven't seen. I think it's really foolish. Unless you caveat it. If you caveat it, then it's like, okay, then you can have your impressions or whatever. But like, come on, dude. He makes this point where like everyone's like, well, at least they're a nice guy, and he's like, yeah, I don't care about that though. Like, I don't respect them just because they're nice guys, but I want to respect them as content creators. And I think that's a very good distinction from Digi. But as I was talking about during my tier list video, it's one thing to make good videos and another to really be an uplifting person and a presence beyond your videos. Because it's like, you still kind of have a presence. If you make good videos, but you don't talk to any of us, I'm not saying it's a requirement, but I think it definitely helps get your message across farther, which is what you want, right? It's like what you want to make public videos for and share them on the internet. I would imagine networking is kind of a part of that. And if you're kind of a toxic individual or not all that, you want to be like divorced or separate, like hardlined from the rest of the community, I feel like your videos are only going to reach so far and they're only going to make so much of an impact. So I think being nice and being someone that having an affable presence, I think is an advantage of content creation. It's part of the content, in my opinion, especially those guys that it really makes it about them. Not like about them per se, but like their personality is tied directly to their content. Whether it's a video like this, like digests are very tied to me myself because it's me off the top of my head. You see me, you know what I mean? So that's very personalized kind of content. So people can judge partially because of my character, I think. At least that's kind of how I take it. But I like that he was making that partial distinction. Because they are effectively two different things, but I like to consider both, It's true, you can make really good content and be kind of a crappy person. And I fully agree with that, but like, I think it's nice that you're nice. I think it's good to point that out, personally. God, so everyone kind of knows that he effectively ended RC Anime's career with this video. Because he fucking annihilated the guy. He just stabbed him in the fucking groin. Like his description of watching an RC Anime video and then impersonating him, and then later on talking about how he kind of shit talks him in that way. Jeez, I don't know how much actual vitriol that RC Anime got from that attention of that video. I don't know how he responded to it, but like, he's not making videos anymore. What can I say? He kind of moved on. It probably because the whole environment's probably pretty toxic. That might have been why. But like, but also like, he not only did that, but I didn't even remember this. He points out how kind of linked this video from Animat, who was this guy that was relatively new on the scene, and he was doing kind of some, not experimental, but like more high effort stuff, like really going out of his way in live action set locations, and it was Digi kind of just complains that it's a generic Rakugo Shinju video. He's like, I don't care. And then never made a video after that, unfortunately. And I don't know if it's because Animat saw that and got discouraged. I don't know if that would be the case, but like, it's hard not to think that he effectively ended two careers like this, which is like, it's kind of a negative in my opinion. I don't want to discourage anyone from making videos from Digest, even Scamboli or Explanation Point. I could be very harsh, and I think a lot of it is out of entertaining other people. I think people like seeing me dig into some of this stuff and be angry because it's funny. I am kind of funny when I'm angry. I've noticed from like when I get pissed off, I get very hysterical, and I kind of play it. I punch it up. I kind of play it up a little bit because I kind of think it's funny too, a little bit. But like, it's funny to see me pissed off. That's just my personal affecture. I don't know if that's the word. But like, and that's kind of why when I feel the urge to, I would do it. But I would never want someone to quit because of something I said. I would really hope that's not the case. Yeah, I really hope that's not the case. Anyway, I would hope it encourages them to prove me wrong. Shut me up, make something good. And and like it would make me look worse if I ignored it or openly hated on it for less reasons, and I would look bad. So it's like, I feel like your content can speak for itself. I don't really know where I was going with that. I don't know. But basically, it's like, it's crazy that this video was so powerful that it seemed to end two people's video making. But I hope my impact on Digest hasn't done that for anybody. And if anything, I hope it encourages people to make videos and to discuss other videos, which we'll get to later. But like, I've talked about this video for a while now, but that's effectively where I'd go to. What was funny? I completely forgot about this. And I'm sure Jeff maybe like addresses it in their subsequent podcast that this stemmed from. But like, Digi calls Jeff out for plagiarism and stealing some of Digibro's content. I am interested. He didn't really cite anything in particular. He just kind of said it in the video itself. And so like, I don't know how this was addressed in any way. So that was kind of interesting. But yeah, it's such a, oh man, they don't get to the point. It's true. And it really rings. I'm happy he said it because, it's something that I think a lot of us have benefited from. There's a video, probably talk towards the end. I'll probably forget about it. But like Craftsdwarf, his Toko video, he starts it with the first 40 seconds. He's like, short version, watch this. Long version, here we go. And he kind of leads you into it. But he doesn't waste your time in that way. And I really liked that about his video. But we'll get to that when we get there. It's good lineup this week. Sorry, I'm not getting to the point. But I really liked this video. Thank you for recommending it, Conra. Alrighty, now for the videos that I thought were decent. Pretty swell. At first, Vindy put out a spicy take. Oyasumi Poon Poon is terrible. Very bad. And I haven't read Oyasumi Poon Poon, so I don't really have a horse in the race. But for one thing, I really like that he's using this, his Twitch, effectively as a way to make videos. Because like I said, in the recommendation video, he's really good at off-the-cuff stuff. And I think it's great that he leans into it and kind of going in the internet and like searching some stuff at the time and everything like that. And I like that he's sticking his neck out for this perspective. And I think his perspective is very life-affirming here, where so the reason he thinks it's terrible is that the ending, where I guess spoilers. I mean, I didn't think it was that big of a deal, but like, Poon Poon's constantly trying to kill himself, and at the end of it, he can't, and he lives. And Vindy found a interview with the author Asano, and which said that was the worst ending that Asano could think of, because I guess he wanted it to be very depressing. So the worst ending is that they lived. And Vindy took that as very negative-minded and very unlife-affirming. Like, you're saying that Poon Poon should have successfully killed himself, and that would have been better. Like, that's so inherent. When you say it like that, it's very shitty. So I definitely see where Vindy is coming from. My issue with it is he really doesn't cite much of the text itself. He cites like the last page, but he talks very anecdotally about Oyasumi Poon Poon, and all of it, his entire point, all of it, 100%, I feel, is hinged on this interview. External information that's not in the work itself. I don't see that as all that convincing of why the story itself is terrible. It's a very it makes the story look very damaging. I think it's a very poor point for the author to have made. It kind of undercuts the whole story. Like, I feel like I mean, this is just my perspective, but like, having not read Poon Poon, but like, if it's a depressing story and the end of it is he lives, it makes it seem like he's overcoming that and he's still living, and it's an uplifting thing. But the author is saying, no, that's the worst thing that could have happened. I think that undercuts your entire story. So it's a very poor look, and I am happy that Vindy is covering it in that way. But to then extrapolate that as the whole story is trash is effectively what you're saying here. And he says that the art's great, and he doesn't have any problem with the art. His only problem seems to be the ending and Asano's perspective on it. That was all I could tell from this particular video. And I just don't think that was enough information for me to really be convinced of like, oh, I shouldn't read Oyasumi Poon Poon or something, or it doesn't deserve its high rank on Mal or whatever. Which he kind of surmises that like people are going to see that and they're going to think they have to read Oyasumi Poon Poon and Berserk because the others are like sequels or something. He gives some like random reason for like, I'm not going to read it. Okay. But because it's so high ranked, they'll read it. And he basically says that like Poon Poon fans are only, not Poon Poon fans, but like, well, yeah, but like it's liked by people who have only read 5 manga or so. I think he says something kind of off the cuff like that. I'm sorry if I misquote you. This is an off the cuff thing, talking about it from an off the cuff thing, and there's some distance there. There's definitely a game of telephone here. So watch the video for yourself, as I always expect you to do. Don't just take my word for it. I'm not going around saying I watch it so you don't have to. Please never take that from my videos. Please never do. I want you to watch even like the not goods just to confirm it. If you don't want to, that's your business, and you can trust me, whatever. But I'm not telling you to trust me, or I'm encouraging you not to watch these videos. Please never assume that. Please check out Vindy and his take on it, even if you are a big Poon Poon fan, which a lot of people are. This did get kind of dislike bombed a little bit. But I'm happy he's sticking his neck out there for ultimately a pretty life-affirming message. Like, no, life is worth living, and it sucks that you think that's the worst ending that this could have had. I don't really have any stake in the Poon Poon argument. I've never read it. But from the information that Vindy was providing me, he cited one page. To me, and an external interview that it's not like, I don't know how likely it is you would have seen it. Unless it's like printed in the back of the book or something. Right? I just don't think that's all that fair, personally. Yeah, that's my take on it. Did you guys know that Kevin Penkin started a YouTube channel? I only found out a couple hours ago. I just happened to see the tweet. He started a YouTube channel and he's posting some of his original OSTs. Starting with a Tower of God one, which sounds pretty good, I guess. It's been a while since I've listened to the Made in Abyss soundtrack. I remember liking it a lot to the point where I was considering buying it on vinyl or soundtrack or whatever. But to be honest, I haven't listened to it all that much past it. It's been years at this point. He's such an established figure too. Like he's such a hot new composer. He's like the only, I don't know, these days at least. I guess there's a couple if you really dig, but he's got very popular since that Made in Abyss series. Since Made in Abyss, I should have just said that. Whatever. But he was saying on Twitter that he's like, there's going to be some behind the scenes stuff and it's Kevin Penkin. And that's great. I think it's great that there's, Yoshitoshi Abe, I think Abe is the character designer for Lane and all those, and Haibane Renmei, etc. He has a YouTube channel. I don't really watch all that much because it's kind of his own original stuff, and like it's mostly just kind of sketches and stuff. But that's great. I love that these people are on YouTube. So that's excellent. I just wanted to shout that out. It's really nothing much. This first and only video so far is just a bit of the soundtrack. It's fine. But that's very promising. Looking forward to what that shows up. And speaking of industry-related channels, Animator Dormitory channel put out another Understanding the Low Wage Problem, which I looked at their channel again and was like, this seems redundant. Like, I feel like you've covered this. And they kind of have in places, but I checked in on them just to see what it was like, and they stopped dubbing it into English. And I don't know, they must have gotten comments about it, and I remember mentioning it where it's a little redundant how to have subtitles and a dub over. So it's the real person. So like their mic quality is a little worse, but that's okay. It's the real person coming through, which I was happy to hear. And it's the founder, I guess, of the Dormitory project, talking about the low age problem and why this is something you should care about. Like, if there's no money, no animators, no anime, no animators, no anime. Sorry, it's an inside joke for me. So that was great to see, and it again, I could probably plug their channel every week, but I don't necessarily want to do that and have redundant channels. But if you're just checking out Digest now and you didn't know about Animator Dormitory channel, they're great. They're great, and they're following a particular animator in this program, and they're trying to make a better industry here. They're really grassroots and really trying to do some stuff, and they have results that show that it's working. One of the stats that they're really trying to combat is the fact that 90% of new animators leave within the first 3 years. So the turnover rate is incredibly high. So like it's becoming less and less fruitful of a career. But because of this project where they don't have to care, they not have to care, I guess, but they don't have to worry. That's the better word. They don't have to worry about making rent or anything like that, and they can just focus on growing in the anime industry. They have people who they've sponsored that have since gone on to become animation directors and anime directors. I think it just said directors, and I was like, so full series director? That's crazy. I guess that is the case, because they were saying directors and animation directors, I think. But like the turnover is going, they're actually combating this issue, and that's awesome. It's actually doing an effect. But they have a lot of other videos covering it in different angles, and a little redundancy here and there to me. But that's okay. I mean, it's better to keep repeating this point because it's important than be like one and done. You know what I mean? Because not all of us who can do the one and done thing, it's not like we have any stakes in the matter. This has genuine stakes. Like, this is something like people's lives are, and an entire industry is on the line here. So I'm very happy that it's something that's trying to be channeled in multiple places, including YouTube. So that's great. I watched BennettTheSage's Summer Wars video, the past versus the present, and the past versus the present thing is just, I mean, he loops it a couple times, but he brings in the Digimon argument, and it's kind of cringe. The way he's like, sounds familiar. It's like, you and your mom. It's like everyone and their mom has talked about this, the connection with those two movies, and it's like, just maybe bring it up a little bit, and but like, I wish I wrote some of this stuff down, because it was kind of frustrating, some of the things he was saying with like how Hosoda doesn't want to actually make anime. He cites this festival quote that he said, and he's kind of extrapolating, in my opinion. I don't think Hosoda is necessarily implying that. But it was just, I wish I wrote it down. It's a little frustrating, but ultimately kind of a good reading of the movie. I think movie itself understands the importance of it for sure, and it's not a shitty take or anything like that. It's just hard to, some of the things just like obviously he wants to make anime. If he wanted to make live action films, he would. Like, a lot of these directors have the ability to, and a lot of them do. Like Mamoru Oshii moved on to do live action films. Hideaki Anno took a break from anime to do live action stuff, and he still does live action stuff. There's nothing stopping Hosoda from doing that, but clearly he wants to do anime because he likes that anime in particular. It was just, and I don't know what the kind of point he was trying to make. And he was also like, he was taking the fact that Hosoda key animated stuff for Dragon Ball and Toei stuff to be like he was under their boot or something. And it's like, and he doesn't even mention his work in TV episodes. Of course he doesn't. I guess no one gives a fuck. Okay. But that was just very disappointing, and kind of a tunnel vision, like, get to the point that I want to make kind of take. So I wasn't all that a fan of how he covered Hosoda specifically here, but I liked that he, I thought the video overall was okay. finally talking about another Vic and Hope video. I don't know, there's some of the stuff they're doing a lot of content, like long form and kind of off the cuff, and using their trademark kind of dynamic, which is great. And something I finally wanted to kind of check into was their video, which was a kind of a bonus feature. It was part of some of their stuff for their patrons exclusively, but they retooled that particular section, which they did caveat as like, yay, by the way, we're going to do this or whatever. And they made this into a video where they reacted to Fall Anime 2020 trailers. And I had seen a number of these trailers, but I hadn't for some, which was good. And Vic and Hope just kind of check out the ones that they wanted to watch. If like they see the cover and it's like, oh, let's see the trailer for that. They didn't check out everything very exhaustively, which I like. It's very curated in that way. And they look a little bit into staff and who made it and stuff like that. Not too deep into it or super like informative in that way. But it's getting their raw, unfiltered takes and their dynamic and everything, and that's always very engaging to watch. So I thought that was a good way for me to rapid through some of the stuff for this fall, and it was good to see more content from them in this sort of like reactionary, instead of like all their stuff is pretty much unscripted, but I like that this was a little different from their content where it's reacting in the moment and not just kind of retroactively, like, oh, we watched this thing and what did we think of it, and they just kind of discuss it in that way for a lot of their other content. So this was refreshing in that regard. But yeah, I enjoyed that. I'm happy to see more content from them. Now, they definitely have. It's just, I personally wasn't, I don't know. Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles looks kind of cool, but I don't know. But not to discourage their other content or anything like that. That's just what I wanted to check out. But yeah, I was happy to see that. And last, we'll talk about an Infinite Fiends video. This is the second video I'm talking about. And I'm not sure, I forget what evaluation I was giving their previous video. I think I was happy to subscribe to them. It's certainly sort of different from everybody else in terms of their cadence and their presence on screen and their takes and everything like that. I thought there's something about Fiend that kind of feels out of the box, I guess, which is kind of nice. But this video's bland characters are not inherently bad, and rapid firing through a couple of shows where it's actually a good thing that this character is more of a blank slate and quote unquote bland, and he's kind of dissuading from the quote self-insert pro tag because he thinks that the community kind of uses it derogatorily in sort of a negative frame light, like, oh, that's a bad thing, when it's like, no, if you see it in Kaiba, like, that's a very crazy wacky world. And it's great that the character is experiencing that fresh the same way the audience is, because it's so wacky. It gives them a vehicle to perceive the whole world through, which makes it more digestible and not like, oh, what the fuck are we doing here? You know what I mean? So I liked that. And he talks about Ichisei as well. And it's not on the thumbnail, but his other example is Nana Komatsu from Nana as a bland protagonist, bland character. Come on, man. I could sort of see where it's coming from, but come on. He has an fairly accurate reading of her and her place in the story as this sort of unremarkable girl surrounded by very extraordinarily talented people, which is something that I very much fuck with, which is one of the reasons I love Nana. Although, before I forget, he's like, I need to differentiate the Nana, so I'm going to call this one normal Nana and this one edgy Nana. You realize they qualify, they distinctualize each of these characters by their last name, right? So like the community and even in the show itself, I'm not sure if the show itself actually does this. I'm not sure, but like it's mostly referred to as Nana K and Nana O as the differentiation between the two, not normal Nana and edgy Nana. just saying. Not a big point against it. It was just like, as a fan of Nana and loving Nana, I was like, what do you know? Or whatever, a little instantly defensive, I guess. But still, I liked the take, and I was happy he brought it up. And being defensive, using pretty not out of the box examples, I guess, but like pretty like well-regarded shows, not super popular or anything like that. Where and like an excuse to plug Technolize, Kaiba, and Nana. I think that's pretty cool. I think that. So I was happy to see that, and happy to enjoy that video. Someone recommended me your channel this week. Is like, I bet you have to subscribe to this person. I'm like, hey, actually. But I was happy to see that. Good seeing more from you. Now for the best videos of the week, which I was just thinking, this first one, I mean, I think it's best because it's cool, but I need to caveat saying I didn't watch all of it because it's 5.5 hours. Yeah. This is not Anime Digest, August 2020 edition. Kyle Entertainment added me as well about this and let me know about this. And he caveats it for a big chunk of his intro is like 15 minutes, and he lampoons himself being like, "Oh, it shouldn't be this long." About like this is coming from AniTube Digest, and he's kind of appropriating it and using it as a way to talk about videos that he thought was interesting and media commentary in this way. And right off the bat, dude, you're not the first person to do this. I mean, you've seen he's been working his way through all of the digest, which I was like, geez, okay, cool. I mean, you don't have to binge all of it. You don't catch up exactly, but I'm happy you are. I appreciate it. I'm happy I'm not that insufferable to listen to. But like the Unknown Otaku, like very kind of within a couple months of me starting it, he tried it a couple times. He didn't get too far. He did like 3 videos on it, and it was his own style, and kind of credits me with it as well. And it's like, so long as it's nice that you have it in the description of like, yeah, this is where you took it from. And that's in the description of my first AniTube Digest, where this is not even an original idea from me. I got this from the Needle Drop. I got this from Anthony Fantano and his weekly track roundup, as I've said in plenty of other places. And, I have my reason, whatever. Metatextual conversation that I remember saying in a different digest as well, that I didn't want to dwell on it so much anymore, but it's becoming more prevalent. But the other thing I wanted to really encourage you in saying, I wanted people to do this. I wanted people to do what you were doing. I wanted to encourage more discussion of YouTube videos because they've been around for like a decade now, like more than a decade. And it's not just something that is just fun internet entertainment anymore, I think. It's starting to actually kind of influence media in some ways. In ways we probably don't realize yet, but like I think it's shaping a lot of people's perspectives and perceptions of stuff. It's a form of intermediary media, I think was the term that this guy emailed me. I'm not sure if this guy is actually going to watch this digest or not. I guess he's seeing that I was doing it, but I'm not sure how much of a follower he is. But this guy emailed me about wanting to talk to me about it. I'm sorry I haven't answered your email, and this is the way I'm answering it. I don't know. I was just you caught me at a time where I was going camping for the weekend, so I haven't gotten around to answering it. I'm sorry. But yes, I would like to talk. I'd love to talk to you about it. But he was talking about this great concept that I love. I'm sorry to derail this from Kyle's video. But it was this idea of intermediary meat. I forget the term for it. I'm sorry. I'd look it up, but off the cuff right now. But like, there's people that make the media, right? The stuff that make the entertainment or make the subject. Say it's wine. Like his example was wine. This guy in this email I had, but he was saying also museums and art and all different kinds of media, where there's a difference between making it and consuming it and just passively liking it. It's like, oh, I like wine, I like drinking wine. And then people who make wine, but then there's the people in the middle that don't necessarily make it, but they're a step above just passively consuming it. They're talking about it. They're critics. But they're not just critics. They're curators. They're actually talking about this stuff and getting a broader, better understanding of the media that they're talking about. And so like YouTube videos were themselves intermediary media, where it was a red letter media about Star Wars, a Star Wars thing. It's a step above passive consumption, just watching the movie. And he's not necessarily making the Star Wars movie, so he's effectively criticizing it. But there's other videos that kind of repurpose it or explain the movie, right? There's a couple of like analysis videos, right? And now I'm sort of an intermediary of YouTube videos, which themselves are intermediaries of this other thing, which is crazy. It's a weird lump on a lump, which I never thought about. And I thought I was like, wow, Jesus. Never considered it. Because I take videos as their own particular art form because it's a craft. I love making videos. I have my own channel, by the way, guys. I've noticed that I've gotten a lot of attention for Digest lately. But I have a channel. I'm sorry I don't post that much on it. I'm going to drop something huge in a second, okay? And then I won't... I can't promise that. I was like, I won't drop anything huge like that again. Can't promise that. Yikes. Anyway, Kyle's video, he has a lot of different opinions from me, as he was explaining in his intro, which I watched all of the intro. And then when we got to the videos, I mostly wanted to skip around, which I think a lot of people who watch Digest do anyway. They kind of just skipped to the videos they thought were interesting and they wanted to hear my take on it or something. So for that, I would say I'm happy you linked all the videos in your description. You should totally time code it so that like the video breaks. You see, like if you're watching Digest on YouTube, you'll notice that the timeline is broken up and it's broken into segments you can actually click on. In order to do that, you put in the description a time code 00:00 as whatever, your intro or something. And then you have subsequent ones after that, and whatever ones those are, make sure it's like 2-digit minute number, 2-digit second number. It'll effectively break it down for you. It might take a little while, especially because it's a 5-hour video. But I would encourage you doing that because I think it's a better peripheral experience, I think. It makes your video a little more engaging to click around and see how long you talk about some things. But no, yeah, so he's talking about videos the same way I am. Not the same way, I guess. He's not formatting it the same way with Not Good, Decent, Best. It's kind of just all over the place. And you don't know what videos he's going to talk about he likes or thought was okay or whatever. So it's a little bit of a surprise in that way. And this is also a monthly thing that he's going to want to do and not like a week-to-week like catalog the same way I'm trying to sort of do. It's more like videos that he's caught up on and videos he watched that month that he thought were really great or interesting that he wanted to talk about, which I think is an awesome perspective. I like that approach. And so it's like, if one-ish hours of AniTube Digest isn't enough for you, this week at least, there's 5.5 hours of this guy, and I think he sounds pretty cool and informative, and has talked about a lot, has watched a lot of videos, and makes videos himself. So I think it's a good perspective and a different one from mine. You might fuck with him more because he likes more like critical stuff. He's also talking about just whatever videos, not simply anime YouTube videos. Like he's talked about a couple Sarah Z videos, Sarah Z. I don't give a fuck. A couple ContraPoints videos. He got a little political there. I didn't watch any of those. I checked out his video, his analysis of Digi's sports video that stemmed from my digest, which is really lump on lump on lump. It's really funny. But I like it. I enjoy this sort of conversation. I wanted someone to make this. Don't think you're stealing from me. The only thing that I would be upset with when it comes to like this sort of stuff is if you kind of take the entire moniker, AniTube Digest, the same thing, Not Good, Decent, like if you copy me verbatim and then purposely avoid and pretend I don't exist, then it's like, are you kidding me, dude? That's really dumb. I would think it would be funny, but then I'd call your shit out and then people would be like, oh, what the fuck? But I just don't want to be fully appropriated without credit. That's all. But like, you talk about another anime YouTube video or a series of YouTube videos in the same sort of way, I'm happy with that. That's kind of part of the reason I wanted to make this, was because I wanted further discussion of this. I didn't want everyone to just kind of throw their hands up and be like, oh, that was a bad video, or oh, that was good, yeah, I guess. No, if it's a good video, I really want people to know. Like, seriously. And so that's a lot of the reason behind it. So, I'm very happy that you made it. I can't watch all of it. I don't have 5.5 hours at the moment. um, I'm very busy with other things, but would it be? But I'm very happy that you did this. Don't feel like you're stepping on my toes whatsoever. Full endorsement. You're on Digest here now, and maybe you'll talk about me retroact the other way. And one thing you did say, I'm very happy I remembered this. One thing you did say is like, now I can actually talk about Shabe's videos. Yes! That was always like the one downside for me as a very vain individual, that no one would talk about my videos. I would be talking about everyone else's, but when I make a video, it doesn't get onto Digest. You know what I mean? Not like I would fully expect it from you or anything like that, right? Everyone tries to play it cool here. You play it cool. If Shaves doesn't put you in Digest, you play it cool. You don't get irked. You don't get bummed. He just maybe he didn't see it. Maybe he just didn't see it. Don't sweat it, man. Just don't make videos for me. Seriously. But like, I don't know if you know, I'm making a 2-hour Gurren Lagann video that is supposed to come out at the end of this month. And I want as many people to see it and to talk about it. I want people to, I want praise is what I'm saying. Or criticism. I really want to know how people think about it. But yeah, I'm very happy that you made this, mostly so that it's an opportunity, it's a potential of me getting a mention in some way. But yeah, I'm very happy you're doing this. Full endorsement, of course. Anyways, for some more Kino shit, I'm actually finally talking about a MartyMcFlies video and not just like plugging his channel, which I did way back a year ago. He's very active on Twitter, it seems. But this dude, if you don't know him, just anime OST or just general OSTs that aren't necessarily uploaded anywhere else. If you look at his channel, it's a lot of anime OSTs, but it's other Japanese music and a variety of other stuff, city pop and what have you. And they all seem to be some sort of vinyl stuff and vinyl uploads, and it's so awesome. It's a fucking smorgasbord of music. If you're looking for that sort of thing, I think it's awesome. Never mind for like the kind of niche OSTs that he happens to get, but like mixes like this, which I think might be the first mix that he's done. I'm gonna look at his channel for Marty's mixes, but I think this is the first Marty's mix. But I loved it. It's a bit of a summery vibe, kind of city pop type stuff. And he's got the boys kind of dancing gif in the bottom, which I really like. I like the aesthetic of this video, and I like the selection. Yeah, this seems to be the first one. I'm so happy he made this, especially because that becomes more of a curated thing. It's one thing to kind of dump and upload all this stuff, but you never have an idea of what to listen to. But if he's got a selective curated mix of stuff, it's like, here's the stuff I like, stuff I think sounds dope, or like kind of consolidates it. And it's wonderful. It's much more. It has much more incentive for me to listen to it. And again, I like the character in the video itself with like the different dancing and stuff with the city pop. It's such a good aesthetic. I love Marty's channel. I don't plug it more, and it wasn't on the tier list or anything because, it's not so much like anime. It's not the wheelhouse that I'm talking about, but God, I love it. It's check his shit out, please. I'm gonna listen to it after this, while I'm editing probably. It's such a good mix, dude. Yeah. I'm sorry I'm not gonna like go further detail into what kind of mixes it was. I like the second track or something like that. But no, I'm very happy he made that. It's so good. Hiding in Public put out a Death Note video. The first thing I'm gonna mention before I forget it was the nice use of the Kaiji OST. Yeah, it's good, very well selected. I think it's a very good selection of soundtrack overall, and it's a very good audio experience. And I like that there's more of a production to it in Hiding's videos. This was a very good Death Note video, very much focusing on Nier. Although I think it gets to Nier maybe like a third into the video, but that's not like negative or anything. But I really like his take on Nier as less of a successor to L, as more of a successor to Light. which is very interesting and kind of subversive of a lot of people's impressions of the series. And I really like that he very much is taking from a manga and anime perspective, and he kind of debunks this idea of the last third being lackluster of Death Note, where it's like, no, it's actually very necessary. It's more of half of Death Note in the when in context of the manga, and it's actually very important. And Nier's a very interesting, great character. And so I really liked that. There's not much else to say about it. It's a very well polished, well produced video, tightly wound, and I really like the points that he's making. I'm sorry, it's not very. I really liked it though, and it's not like a, yeah, no, sorry, I don't have much else beyond that. I think it's a very good reading of Death Note. I like that it's with. I'm sorry to repeat my points. Oh well. That it's with manga and anime, and again, production's sick. It's good. I gotta keep APLattanzi in the conversation. I don't know if he's gonna see this. Dude, I actually liked this video a lot from him. The shocking secrets behind The Ghost and Mr. Chicken, an iceberg analysis, which the iceberg is referring to that picture where, like, it's the iceberg's on, like, the surface, but it gets way deeper and darker. So it's like it gets more submerged, and he kind of makes the macro image of sorts, referring to this comedy movie with Don Knotts. I think it's Don Knotts is the actor here, of The Ghost and Mr. Chicken, which I had never really heard of. But he talks in context of, like, a lot of people watching this movie, and there's actually kind of a community that follows this, and there's a lore to this movie of, like, kind of the weird secrets and the mysteries about this that make it kind of a weird film to watch, and how, like, 1 out of 50 people who watch it get nightmares afterwards. It's like, what? It's so weird and out of the box, and that's the kind of content this dude makes. I would have mentioned him in my top anime YouTubers under 1,000, but he really only talked about that. He really only made that anime OST video. And the rest of it has been whatever. It's been a lot of different stuff. You look at his channel, and it's like, what on earth? It's so different. And he definitely talked more about anime around the time I was talking about him. But especially recently, when he goes into the index and the cipher halls, I'm just looking at his channel. It's so bizarre and interesting. I'd probably want to watch all of them at some point. But, like, it's just too niche for me to, like, really be excited. But, this in particular seemed a little different from him. It didn't seem to be from some sort of big series like Tales from the Terran Trade Authority. It's like, what? He always has that vibe with his videos for me. But, like, I like that. I like that so much. So I just want to keep him in the conversation. Say that I really liked this video. It's very bizarre. But very interesting observations, good through line and everything, and it's not anime at all. It was like, oh yeah, this is my favorite anime. Fuck off. I'm gonna talk about what I want, and this is something I think it barely counts, but I'm going to count it. God, it's really interesting. New channel alert. Not really new channel, all things considered, but new to digest. You know how it be. Argonbolt put out this hour-long video, The Destruction of Mecha. And I gotta say, it was Roger's server, I think Drax? Forget his name? Sorry if I'm not too familiar. They linked to this video where this guy takes down a Professor Otaku video that kind of goes after him really, really definitively, which I actually enjoyed a lot. Because I've had problems with that guy's content as well for the same, and I think he vocalizes the problems very well. And you look at his channel, it's the same as APLattanzi in terms of the weirdness of it, and you look at the thumbnails and it's like, what on earth? But he's very much of a mecha guy, but he's so much different in the way that, like, he's going out of he's really kind of treading his own path, really being pragmatic. This particular video, let me just explain in the context of this one big fucking video here. He basically explains why mecha can't really be made in reality, and so it kind of breaks the illusion of why they're not real to begin with, and he has such a fucking bone to pick with this dichotomy of real robots and super robots, and how it's very trite distinction, and it's only used for fanboys to kind of fight of which one's better or not. Now, this is funny coming from from the perspective of somebody making a Gurren Lagann video where I'm talking a lot in those terms. It's terms that a lot of people are familiar with and is relatively common knowledge. It commonly discussed, but that just because it's common doesn't mean it's altogether accurate. I like to defend myself presumptively because I say I think I was watching this video. I'm like, do I have to rewrite some of my fucking video? Like, it made me worried about saying the words real robot and super robot and making the distinction. But I mean, for me, I'm happy at least to think that I say two things. First thing, it's a gradient and not binary. You can't have one. It's not real robot or super robot. There's a variety of shades in the middle, and it's more as a way to kind of get an understanding of the. It's hard to explain the context of my video and with this one and off the cuff. I'm sorry, I can't defend it. It is getting me sweating though, and it's very well explained. I think it is couched in a lot of stuff that I don't especially like, as people know, of the kind of the hostility and constantly going after like fans and kind of like making them look really dumb. But I get it. I think it all comes from a very positive place of really appreciating and loving the mecha genre. And having seen a lot of them, he's very well versed in Votoms, Patlabor, Ideon, Gundam, Eva. You know, you name it, he's probably seen it. Although he doesn't talk too much about super robots and the magical kind, you know, like the very over-the-top kind of robots in the same way. I think he is very much dabbling it. I think he has more of a bone to pick with the concept of real robot, especially in this video, where he really is like, no, even what we consider real robot isn't real. Like, it's also very impractical. But I would like to say the second thing that I say in my video that I think kind of addresses what he's saying here and ultimately hopefully respects what he's saying, because I want to take this and learn from it, and I think it's very valuable what he's saying here. I want to say that, like, I say it's all fiction and none of this is practical, let alone possible, which I was kind of really coming to grips with when I was talking about it. This whole section is talking when I talk about the Gundam influences in Gurren Lagann. Well, the Tomino influences mainly, which happens to be Gundam as well. But I was watching that anniversary sort of thing where they were building a real Gundam. And like they were doing it for real with the accurate scaling and hopefully making it move and stuff. And you sort of mention it in this video, and I think you're going to allude to it in part 2, which it looks like you're already uploading. Like, I looked at your channel and you made this video, The Destruction of Mecha, 6 days ago, and you just put out part 1 of 9 of your sequel to this, which is The Rebirth of Mecha. And I just have to, but it's okay. I really enjoyed watching this video because he really narrates and guides you through this idea. And he has all these illustrations and this personification, not personification, I guess, but the symbol of kind of a gates of hell of sorts, where you have to open in order to open the third gate of why we don't have mecha in the real world, we have to open these other gates of what's reality and this other stuff. And he has illustrations for that, draws a lot of things himself. I like this scenario, this idea he has where he presents you 3 scenarios. And he has these cool drawings and describes them to you. And then he asks, like, which one is the most real robot? And then he's kind of like, all of them and none of them. It's a subjective, by the case sort of thing. And he breaks it into more nuanced definitions instead of just blanket real robot or whatever, which I really appreciate. I want to, like, respect that, but I'm not sure how I'd be able to interpret it or fit it into my video. So when you get pissed, I'm sorry. I've made it, but I made this back in like May-ish, and I've since seen the video. And sorry, I'm probably not gonna adjust the video in that way. But I don't think it contradicts it outright. I think it does respect what he's saying here. It is a gradient. It's not helpful to be binary about this and to really lean on these terms as a way of saying this mecha series is better than this one because it's a super robot, or better than this one because it's a real robot. Like he defines a lot of these different fans that are like really obnoxious, and and I appreciate the kind of cultural awareness that he has in this video. I will say the majority of the video felt kind of like a game theory video, in a way that I'm sorry if that's insulting, but in a way that like he explained a lot of math, and like, so if a person weighs this much and the cubic weight of this, and the robot is this tall, or it's like that. It's a lot of numbers. It's like a game theory video. It spoke to me a lot like what he would make if he was to make like, could Gundam happen? Well, it's sinking to the ground, which I know he does refute in this video, which I liked, and he kind of gives you the accurate sort of reasons why they don't exist. Like, there's no practical use for them. If there was any, we don't have the technological advances to make them practical, and if we did, we wouldn't apply them to robots. We would apply them to the technology we currently have to make them even better. We'd make super tanks. We'd make super jets. We wouldn't just make a humanoid robot. There's a lot of impracticality to it and everything like that. So I fully agree with you there, and I think he makes great points. And again, I think that while the video, like, in some part, it's part primitive, part creative and dynamic and interesting. Because, on one hand, he's doing like the very static images and throwing them up there, and seems very minimal in that regard, and just kind of random clips and pictures and stuff. But on the other point, I like the creativity here. I like that he's making these paths and these gates and an aesthetic to the video. And I thought that was really creative. It didn't feel like an hour. It felt like kind of a bit of a lecture of sorts, and not like in a bad way. It felt like kind of a seminar, I guess. And I thought it was really interesting. I think you guys should check his channel out, especially if you like mecha. I mean, it's very generic to say, right? Like, if you like mecha, what's this channel? But, but like, no, seriously, I think he has a very refreshing take on analysis of the mecha genre, and I would love to learn from him more, learn more, and watch his videos more. I'm looking forward to his Rebirth series. Like, he doesn't bill this as like its own, like, as like a part one of something. This is sort of a part one of sorts. But there is a Rebirth series that he just started. He's pretty active. So yeah, check his channel out. I'm sorry I missed him when I did this under 1,000, but like, if he's still there, I mean, this is a great channel. I really liked that video, and I also liked your Professor Otaku video a lot. Although, I'm very worried of what you'll think of my my Gurren Lagann video when it has the existence of real robot and super robot terms in there. I try not to, I hope it doesn't piss you off. Guess who's back? Back again. Hazel's back. Oh my god, I was so happy. Like, the couple days after that 1,000 subscribers, she just kind of came back and burst. And so the one I included in the digest is the first one that she uploaded, but she uploaded like 5 AMVs in like the span of 2 days. What is this? Look, what do you mean? Like the explosion of artistry here, and they're all different too. They're all doing different things. It's not just like, oh, it's the same song, but this fits this thing, and they're not lazy either. They're all very distinct. This is the third time I'm looking at someone's channel when this is happening. But this is just such an exciting week for Hazel. Honest to God, it's so awesome. I'm including the To Burn Greenhouses because that has more of a weird thing going for it. I was freaking out. She posted it on Twitter. I was happy that I was able to. She's private on Twitter, but and like, she posted it. I'm like, what are you doing? Post that. Like, it's so good. I want to share that with people, but I can't if you just tweet it. And she's like, okay, it's so good. She's using a lot of like, I don't know how you did this. Well, I guess I guess I could figure it out technically. I would never think to do this though. Of like, basically baking the whole thing, the background of one footage in blue and then red footage on top of that. I'm sure this happened in other places and Gil probably did it or whatever, but like, it was so striking in this particular video. It was awesome. And the thing with Hazel that I always appreciate is that she's not going to just take a song and then put footage over it, which is what I do. I'm very vanilla in that way. But like, I mean, I just think it just never occurs to me, I guess. And I've said this about our previous content, but she does stuff with the audio too here. And in this particular one, She has Shinji's scream, the dub version, which I like. The dub is more iconic for me personally. You can argue whether it's a better scream than the other one or whatever. But like, she like overlaps the Shinji scream, over like repeats it over and over as the song is going, and the song is very overblasted and like distorted and weird. And there's a lot of different shows coming up, and there's this one retro show towards the end I don't even recognize. I don't even know what anime that is. That's so sick. I mean, I'd like it to be credited, but you know, what can you do? Please say the anime at the end. Not like it's a necessity, right? But like, oh my god. A very sentimental Doremi AMV. Will You Remember Me was like this really cool mashup of this older video, I guess like a live recording of My Way, and she mashed like the black and white clip with Gunbuster. And it's funny, like she commissioned me to make a Gunbuster AMV, which is on my channel right now, as you might see, and I'll hopefully be posting future AMVs and stuff. But it's funny that she commissioned me to make one, and then she also makes one that's just as good in my opinion, because it's much slower, much methodically like very thoughtfully selected clips of like, it doesn't have as much action. It's focused on the 6th episode of Gunbuster, and has a kind of an artistic choice of having it all be in 4:3, even though that's the only episode of Gunbuster that was in 16:9. So I thought that was really interesting, and it's great. And then after that, she had this kind of, she's watching Sailor Moon with this group watch that one of my Twitter mutuals is doing, and she was like, I'll make an AMV for every chunk of Sailor Moon that I watch. And I'm like, that's like 36 AMVs. I'm like, what the fuck? Okay, so for me, do not feel pressure to make something. If you're bored, that's okay. That's okay. Don't feel inferior because of that. Don't feel bad about ghosting or whatever. I mean, it made me feel bad, but don't worry about that. Don't feel like you're a burden to people, and don't feel like you have this expectation to perform. I love that you're able to just crank out 5, and she also made she just felt like making a special for getting 100 subscribers. I'm so happy she got 100 subscribers, and she's gonna credit me for it, but at the end of the day, it's like, you know, my push is only gonna do so much. It's making dope shit, and the rapidity, like, it's been 4 months and she's already made, I can't even count that many videos. Like, I could, I guess, but like 21 videos. That's so much more. That was, I didn't make 24 videos for the first 2 years I was on YouTube. Are you kidding me? Like, that's so awesome. And don't feel, but like with this 36 thing, I think it's super ambitious, and I'm super happy and super excited for that. I'm very, don't get me wrong, I love that you're doing that. I would hope that it doesn't discourage you and it doesn't impede on you having fun. I think that's the most important thing. I hope you're having fun making these, and you're bringing so much joy to these people and to me, and I love it, and I'm so happy that you're back in this way. And you just come out with a freaking force. I was like, 3 weeks for that. Not like I need a Hazel video or something like that, but like, you're just gonna make whatever you're gonna make, and I love that. Please don't feel pressure. I've said that before as well, but like, I don't know how much pressure this gives you every time I talk about you on Digest or whatever, but like, don't feel like you have some sort of debt or something like that. Okay, it's like, I'm so happy that you're making this content, seriously. And I'm happy that you're having fun making it, and you're expressing yourself. And you were also challenging yourself. You're like, I got to get better software. I'm like, what do you mean? You sure you've explored how are you this far ahead? I'm not like, and that's not a discouraging thing, right, either. I was more impressed than anything. I was like, oh my gosh, that's just the desire that she wants to improve, and she thinks she can do better. And I just hope that you have confidence in your work. I hope you take pride in it, because it's really good. I don't know how many times I have to tell you. Like, very few people are making this sort of stuff well. I think it's like, it's one thing to make this sort of content and kind of throwing stuff over, and it looks like you're just kind of whatever. And on the in contact metatextually, you probably are. Maybe that is how you're just looping the same thing and it looks cool. And it's very simple what you're doing. And there are YouTubers like that are making this sort of content, but I don't think they do it nearly as well and artistically. And you also are showing different restraint, right? Like, it's not just this, like, layering stuff on top and making it weird and distorted and funky. But, like, it's very, like, your Gunbuster AMV is super tasteful. Your Dormy AMVs are consistently very tasteful. But it's not like the other things aren't tasteful, don't get me wrong about that. It's like, it's showing the versatility, and it contextualizes it to me. It makes me realize, it makes me believe at least, that all of this is very intentional, and you have a very specific idea, or you're at least approving of things. You're not lazy about any of this. Because again, like I've said this on Digest, I said it in the highlights video, a lazy person is someone who has the idea but never executes on it. The fact that you made it means that you aren't lazy about it. You hit upload. You went through the effort of exporting it, right? And waiting for it to go, and then putting it on YouTube and titling it and setting it to public and hitting save. Like, that takes effort. Not a lot of effort, but it's not lazy to me. So I'm so happy. Congratulations on 100 subscribers. Congratulations on everything that you make. I think every video is a fucking bop to me. It's so good. God, it's sincere. I love it. But I'm still gonna give this other video best of the week. As much as I think Hazel made my week the best, like she made me the most happy this week with her content. But in terms of a pure, like, impressive and something that could really push the community in a really positive direction is Craftsdwarf with how to get into Toku and why you should. A newcomer's newcomer guide. There are people that talk about Toku, but I don't think anyone's talked about it this well. I don't think anyone's really articulated why you should care about Tokusatsu and not just like, it's cool or whatever. But he has that spirit. Craftsdwarf really comes from a place of having seen several of them and trying a lot of them and as a fan, but not as it's obvious fan. It's not like as a fan that, like, I'm better than you for being a fan. I feel like that's just how some people kind of come off as sometimes. Specifically with Tokusatsu content where it's so niche that they really have to force it. But, like, Craftsdwarf's especially the beginning of the video, where he contextualizes, like, this is why you should care. It's so blatantly obvious, the influences that Tokusatsu has in Western culture, but also in anime and in all these, in kabuki theater. I think it's the name for it. I'm sorry. But it's so, I think I saw a tweet from What the What, where it's like, yeah, this is something that AniTubers are really lacking in. They don't have the awareness of where this stuff is coming from. Those points that you were making about Evangelion, where the Christian symbolism isn't nothing, it came from Ultraman. Because Tsuburaya is a Catholic and he cares about that imagery, and so and because Anno as a secular individual saw that and thought it was cool, and there's an influence that's why it's in there. It's so easy, and it's because of this gap. It is a gap that a lot of us have, and I certainly have. And I've wanted to get into Toku, specifically because my roommate is really into Toku as well. I actually messaged him as I was watching your video, Crafts, about your point about Pokemon. It's like, I think you call it the best Easter egg ever. And I'm like, oh my god, you're right. Because you're like the dark type. The reason it's weak against fighting types and bug types is a reference to Kamen Rider for being like a bug type warrior. And the dark is weak to fighting injustice and, fighting types and bug types, because Kamen Riders, all their, like, the insignia is very bug-like. I don't really know. I love also that Crafts does not spend any fucking time about the origin and where this came from and who. Okay, we can do a history of Toku later. This is a newcomer's guide. Why should I care? What should I watch? I like that he included a randomizer. You're lost in this ocean of content. You don't know where to start. And there really isn't like the ideal place to start. There's good starting places, many of them. And this is not just as a way to kind of not feel as overwhelmed, and so you just take the choice out of it by randomizing it. But also, he was like, maybe they land on a very obscure title, and it gets coverage and representation that it wouldn't otherwise have. Because a lot of these shows don't get like, there's a lot of Jetman fans or a lot of Gaim fans. I knew about Kamen Rider Gaim for a while from my roommate. And so they have their fans for sure, but there's some that don't have as much representation. So there could be something really cool there. So I really liked that perspective. And then I think he sold it incredibly well in multiple facets of like, if you think it takes itself too seriously, and here's something that really takes itself seriously, this very niche 12 episode thing. But here's one that acknowledges the kind of facade and the childishness of tokusatsu and embraces it and really uses it well. And in that series with it's a particular Power Ranger series, I forgot which it was, but that looked everything he sold effectively. And he covered Garo, Ultraman, Kamen Rider, Sentai very evenly. Nothing felt too one-sided, lopsided in one way or another. It didn't feel like 24 minutes. Dude is so good, dude. Oh my god. That was excellent. It really is. It's like every time I am interested in a Craftsdwarf video, it's a banger. Not like would it be? But yeah, no, I seriously loved that. This will probably rank pretty high in terms of. I don't know why I'm bringing that up. But like, no, seriously, I think this is really valuable. I hope it starts better conversations. It's not like other people haven't talked about Toku. I just don't think they were talking about it as effectively and in the context of anime as you have here. Not like super into anime, right? But like, yeah, I think it was proper justification. Really good place to start. Again, I love how you start the video with the short answer this, long answer here we go. It's very uniform in terms of the presentation. You're citing a lot. There's a lot of different series. You're not just leaning on one sort of thing or another, it felt. And I liked that very worldly sort of perspective while also having the awareness and the transparency that this is something I've seen. I've only seen, I forget what it was, in terms of the Kamen Rider series. You'd only seen one of them. But you've immersed yourself in this culture and you know which wikis to look through, and you've immersed yourself in the community in that way, and it felt like that. But it was communicated so effectively. I hope you really change a lot of people's minds to really give this stuff the attention it deserves, and maybe even start further discussion, and we can really integrate it into this discussion the same way we have with anime and manga. Because people are like, anime and manga, right? Or maybe video games. But like Toku is like a very, very niche thing. And maybe it shouldn't be. I don't think it should be in this case. Especially with how much there is to it and the appeal. I liked how you talked about the appeal very broadly. You didn't have to make it look like it's actually really deep, guys. You really take it for what it is, I think, and you sell it very effectively. Easily the best tokusatsu video I've ever seen. Now, granted, I haven't seen a ton of them, but seriously, thank you. That was excellent. I think that'll do it for this episode of AniTube Digest. Thank you so very much for watching. Thank you very much to my patrons, including Beamburst, Doji, Flugmorph, Hazel, Kuiper, Conra, Kazuki, MyAnimePod, Najbeb, Unique Nemasaurus, and Yellow Cheese. You guys have a great week. Yo, peace.